guys, Ken here, your Thrifty Apprentice, and welcome back to another Thrifty review. In today's quick review, we are going to be taking a look at Master's Touch Fine Art Studio 48 color half pan of watercolors. This is that set. I picked it up from my local Hobby Lobby. The price is $42.99. I typically buy Master's Touch products on sale at Hobby Lobby now for 40% off. Well, when I got this set, it was 50% off, but now they run more 40% off than 50% off specials. Just FYI, in case you are interested in getting this set. You can also get it from hobbylobby.com if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out, and I will link that in the video description. Now, as I stated, Hobby Lobby is a house brand for Master's Touch Fine Art Studio is a house brand for Hobby Lobby. I have been testing a lot of their products in order to do an overall sort of Master Touch video where we'll look at an entire range of this particular craft brand. It is student, falls into the craft student range. Their products are really hit and miss. Now, this particular set that I have, I'm going to be very honest, I'm not sure if this is the same set that's in production and being sold in the stores now. Master's Touch has gone through a sort of image change, and this is the second one that I know of since I've known of the brand, where they are rebranding. Now, Master's Touch, of course, does not, or Hobby Lobby, should I say, do not actually produce Master's Touch paints. They outsource to an independent factory or a white label, as we call them, in order to have their paints produced. So I'm not quite sure if from the first branding set to this branded set to the rebranded set, if they're all produced in the same factory. So with that said, my review will focus particularly on this 48 half pan set that's branded in this box, not the new branding, because I'm not sure if that's the same set. With that said, I'm not even sure if this is the same set as the made by the same factory as the 24 half pan. The 24 half pan, I'm pretty sure it's made by Superior. I actually like that one a lot. So let's just take a look at this one. This is the branding, the old branding. You may still find some of these in rotation. It just has the regular Master's Touch Fine Art Studio. It lets you know that it's 48 watercolor half pans. I showed you the pricing earlier. On the back, there's a color swatching, and it does give you the names, so you will be able to know the order that the paints are laid out, because they are laid out in this order, from top to bottom and bottom to top in the palette. They conform to the ASTM D4236 regulation. 2010 Master's Touch Fine Art Studio, Oklahoma City. So this particular set was produced in 2010. So I'm not sure, again, if anything produced after the rebranding is the same paints. It gives the website, and it lets you know that they're made in China. So that's the packaging that they come in. Of course, this is the 10. Standard 10 that you see with a lot of different watercolor sets, especially your budget sets that are on the market, particularly Amazon right now. You're going to have the 4 really big wheels on it. It's a pretty sturdy 10, actually. It latches pretty well, but at the same time, it's easy to open. And I've experienced that, you know, I don't know if the 10s are being produced in the same factory, but a lot of them seem to be the same. The bottom of it is going to have the little thumb ring or the holder, although I don't ever use that on any set, if the truth be told. If you pop the 10 open, again, you got those 4 deep wells and an additional fold out palette flap. It does not, well, mine, not sure if yours will, but mine does not lay level. It falls down, so the paint will roll down my palette as I try to paint on that side. Now the paints come covered with this sort of plastic protective sheet. I'm assuming that's to keep it off. And of course the paints were wrapped in wrappers when I originally got them. Of course I've unwrapped them to test them, but what I did do is for each of the paints, I tore the wrapper down to the name and the number associated with that paint, and just kind of stuck it on the back of the half pan. That way, you know, I always have color reference. That's to say that if the paints had have been great enough that I would have wanted to refill the palette, I could always buy tubes of Master's Touch paint and just simply refill it based on the color, which is why I stuck it there. But that won't, I'll just go ahead and tell you that definitely won't be the case with these paints. So here's the arrangement of colors. Now I have actually rearranged the paints and more of the color spectrum that I tend to paint with. As I told you earlier though, the original color arrangement is on the back of the box. So as I showed you just a few seconds ago, I'm not sure why I put that back in there. It's a standard half pan. The paint is definitely machine cut. It does kind of lift away from the sides of the pan there. It is a pretty full pan. However, each pellet is not cut evenly, so you do have uneven pellets in here. I also let you know the paints do have an odor to them. It is a very interesting odor. So if you're odor sensitive, these definitely may not be the paints for you. That's something you want to keep in mind. They put me in mind of the way that original Royal and Langnickel Essential 12 count tube paint set smell when I originally bought it years and years ago. And it's been many moons ago. But I always remembered how those paints smell, and that's how these paints smell. And yes, as you start to use it, that scent will go away, but when you close them up and reopen them, that scent definitely comes back, and it comes back in full force. So that's just something I wanted to let you guys know about the paints. And that's pretty much straightforward. They do come in a rack that lifts out. As with most palettes, you have the extra mixing area down here to use if you choose to. I do sometimes, most times I don't, if the truth be told. I don't. All right. And we'll just close that up and we'll move on to look into some swatching because this is going to be really quick. So, at the end of the day, I swatched the paints out on Grumbacher 140-pound cold press acid-free watercolor paper because it is one of the sort of student grade budget papers that I use on a more regular basis in order to do quick paintings and warm-up paintings, or when I may be doing something that's going to be reproduced. So with that being said, I drew down a black line so that I could test opacity. And here you'll see that I've removed part of this. This was just some paper that I just grabbed because I really didn't know if I was going to like these paints, if the truth be told. And I had already started to cut a block out of this one over here. So that's why it looks like that. But you're going to kind of be able to see it all. So the paints, wet fine, they sort of have a water absorbency to them, or they seem to drink the water a little bit, each of the pellets. So you do have to kind of re-wet the paints as you use them. They have an okay pigmentation to them, but I'll be honest, I think these are a dye-based paint. They have absolutely no characteristics to them, and for the most part, they all dry down real uniformly, and they just sort of look the same to me. There's a wide range of colors now. Plenty of greens and blues, reds, yellows. I mean, it's a really wide range of colors. There's some really decent earth tones, but they're funny. I really wish I knew the pigment numbers, air quotations, that made up these paints. Now, the ironic thing is the rebranded paints of Master's Touch, I've noticed, actually come with pigment information included. The 24 half pan set actually had different characteristics about it, which led me to believe that that particular set was made up of pigments. But there's just a lot of things about this that make me think that maybe there's a dye. There are definitely fillers in it to stretch it out. It has sort of a gritty texture to it in some instances when it's too wet. So I just noticed some of those different physicalities about the paints as I was using them. Again, the biggest thing being that they have a really funny smell to them. Now, Flesh had sort of a goopy texture to it, and so did the light green. When I was trying to paint with them, I noticed that they were just really funny. The Payne's gray in this set And I've come to love Payne's Gray. The Payne's Gray of this set was a little on the weak side. Doesn't really have much vibrancy to it. But then I do attribute the fact that these paints look this way because of the grade of paper that they're on as well. Because when we get to the sample painting, you're going to get to see that the paints perform a little bit better simply because I used the 100% watercolor paper. Anything else that I wanted to? That's pretty much all I could think of as far as the physicalities of the paints go. You know, they're not terrible paints. Personally, if you used Artist Loft by Michaels, I don't think these are as bad as those. But I think that they run a really, really close race to them. And I'm really surprised to say that because I enjoyed the 24 half pan set a lot. The old brand. Well, the one that's branded in a box like this. The 24 half pan set that's branded like that. So, did a little color mixing, color testing here. So, we have magenta, bright yellow, and ultramarine I pulled from the set as primaries in order to mix to see what type of vibrant colors I could get. For the most part, the magenta and the bright yellow did mix together to give me a pretty saturated orange. The ultramarine and the magenta gave me a really nice deep purple. When you paint with them heavy, you know, because this was really saturated in comparison to the swatches being maybe more of a watery consistency. The ultramarine and the bright yellow mixed together to give me a really nice green. So the colors did mix pretty cleanly. I will say, although I realize these are budget paints, the one thing I will give them, they didn't create mud quick. Now, they do create mud, do not get me wrong. I'm pretty sure that these are made up of multiple dyes or multiple pigments, if it's pigments. So the mixtures, especially after two colors, do tend to start getting hazy and dirty. Just gonna, throw that out there. But mixing two colors, you kind of get away with a pretty clean mixture. If you should happen to have these paints or were thinking about these paints, I just feel like there's something you may want to know. The paints reacted pretty well to salt, but you know, that's a test that I never really expect any paint to fail. I don't think I've ever tested a paint that failed a salt test. They all, you know, will give you a pretty cool texture. Now, together we're going to do the lift test as we normally do. I've already grabbed my Manta Royal & Lang Nickel number 8 scrub. Yep. So, let's see. Do I have a paper towel? I do. So, we're just going to see how well we can lift this out. And this color that we're lifting is deep purple. It's deep purple. All right. Let's see. See if we can pick that up. All right. And I did this swatch about a week ago, maybe. Let's see. I'm gonna scrub that a little more. See if we can get any more of that out. So as you can see, and I purposely used a color that I thought would stain because I wanted to see just how much towards dye they leaned. And I think that stains pretty well, you know. That did not lift out. It definitely left some staining. So they do react really well to salt, but I don't think they lift all that well. But I really wasn't expecting them to, in all honesty. The white is sort of like a body white more than a opaque white. The deep black really isn't deep in black. I honestly had to mix ultramarine blue into the deep black in order to get the saturation of the color that I wanted. Speaking of ultramarine blue, it is definitely more purple. It is heavy purple leaning. Here it doesn't do it any justice. You're gonna get to see in a moment. It's a really purplish color. Yeah, I thought the turquoise was pretty. The greens are okay. Other than the light green, didn't really care for that. But yeah, so that's that. I'm not gonna ramble on about this. 14 minutes in. here is the sample painting. This is a demo that is up on the channel. If you guys want to check it out, I'll try to remember to link it. I will try to remember to link it. Paints work pretty well. This was Strathmore 500 series, 100% cotton, 140-pound cold press acid-free paper that this is done on. I actually think they worked really well here. The colors dried down, didn't lose much saturation. The ultramarine, and I do believe this color in the sky is cobalt, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. It is. So cobalt and ultramarine were in the sky. They lifted out pretty well. So this is more of a reddish purple color, so I think that's why it stained more, but I still think that they're dye-based. That's just my opinion and my belief. I don't work for, you know, Hobby Lobby or the Message Touch line, so I don't know for sure, but that is my firm belief. And again, and I'll say I'm not sure who makes these paints either. I'm pretty sure the 24 half pan is superior, but these, I don't know. I really honestly don't know. They don't remind me. I almost thought that they kind of reminded me, or that they were going to be like Mungia paints, but they're not. They're definitely not like the Doodle Hog 36 count. I'm not sure who, I don't know. I don't. Got some really nice details with this paint though. And those brushes, well, you know, the brushes work pretty well too, but yeah, this was part 4 in the Simple Landscape Watercolor series, the final painting, where we put all the elements together: the sky, the birch trees, and the rocks. The birch trees and the rocks being done with masking tape. It was really fun to do. Now you can see I got some bleeding here, but I do honestly believe that was because of the way I had the paper taped down to the backing board that I was painting on. I don't believe that there was anything to do with the paints. But if you use the paints on a 100% watercolor paper, I think that, you know, you get pretty good results. But the truth of the matter is, most people painting with budget paints probably are not painting on 100% watercolor paper. So that is definitely something to keep in mind if you are considering these paints. When it comes to pricing, we've already discussed that. You can pretty much get them for 40% off. So that puts them at about the $26, $27 range right now. I'll be honest, I don't believe the paints are worth that much money. I honestly don't believe this particular branded box paints are worth what I paid at the time, which was 50% off. So I paid about, what, $21.50 for them. Yeah, if I had to do it all over again and I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have purchased the paints. And that's not to poo-poo on anybody's parade. I'm so sorry if you have these paints. I mean, because I'm not saying they're not usable, because they are. As I said earlier, they perform really well. So if you were going to get these paints, my suggestion would be, if you're going to get them, if you're going to give them as a gift, give them as a gift coupled with, you know, like a pad of 100% watercolor paper. And you can find those types of paper really economical, like Aquabee makes one, and I know that I saw a listing on YouTube, not YouTube, I'm sorry, on Amazon here just really recently for that paper. Like I said, this is Strathmore 500 series. Strathmore is a really economical brand of paper. There are others out there. You can just really Google it, and so many different brands will pop up. So my suggestion would be to, you know, just couple 100% watercolor paper with the paints if you're going to use them or give them as a gift. Yeah, so that is my 2 cents on that, guys. Hopefully some of this information was helpful to you. If it was, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and remember that sharing is caring. Maybe somebody else would love to know the information about this particular brand of paints. Use the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you have them? Have you used them? What was your experience with them? I would love to know. Don't forget to check out the social media sites, and you can also join the Thrifty Apprentice sponsored Facebook group, Paints, Pencils, Pastels, and Markers, where we do everything artsy and crafty with a wonderful community of really supportive people who, you know, encourage each other. I read some of the comments. I'm like, yes, I love the encouragement. I love it. I love it. I really, really do. What else? I don't think there's anything else. Remember, as I tell you at the end of every video, just keep painting and crafting.